Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome to PUBG training. In this tutorial, we're going to be looking at inventory and inventory management. We're going to be going over weapons. We're going to be going over, weapon combinations. We're going to be going over um, how much meds and ammo and grenades and things like that you want around. We're going to get down to all of that so that way you can equip yourself to play the best that you can possibly play and be ready for a good amount of situations that you're going to be encountering. All right, to start off, we're going to go with weapon combinations. So we all know weapons. Weapons is what we need to kill people with, and it's important to be able to use them as effectively as possible and also prepare yourself for the majority of situations that you're going to be encountering. Weapons, first of all, depend on playstyle. It depends on how you like to play, and it also depends on how good you are with those weapons. Um, there's a lot of people who can be really good with a weapon that you find very difficult to use, and vice versa. It's important to understand yourself, be real with yourself, and know what weapons work for you and what weapons don't. It's also good to have, a few weapons that you work with. If you're on a specific map and you know that you have a good weapon that you love to use, but you also have a couple other weapons that you really like to use. You should pick what you want depending on what's most consistent and what's most available, because availability is a big thing. You want to be able to know that, hey, if I'm not finding the gun I want, what's my second choice? What's the next thing that I can do? And stick with that, because if you go on later on, you're in the middle of the game, maybe you do have an opportunity to swap out, but for the most part, you really want to have, the attachments that you really want and everything like that. So if you're going to swap out, make sure that it's a good time for you to do so. Make sure that if you're saying, hey, one of my favorite guns is the barrel, but I can't get a barrel, so I got an AK. Okay, fine. You can have, you can have a barrel attachment, you can have a scope, you can have a magazine on an AK. And if you happen to find a barrel later on, it's no big deal. You swap out, you're still using 7.62 ammo, and you just have a couple more slots to fill up. Maybe it's a vert grip or whatever it is that you want to attach to the barrel. You'll have that available. That's a good swap. A bad swap would be like, hey, I love the barrel, right? But all I got to work right now with is this Bison. Okay, if you don't happen to find your barrel and your secondary choice is a Bison, that's a little bit tough, because if you wanted to switch to the barrel later on, not only do you have different attachments, a completely different barrel, because obviously SMG barrels don't work with AR barrels, a completely different magazine, scope remains the same, grip may remain the same depending on the gun, and the ammo is completely different. That's a bad swap. If you were stuck with that, stick with that, or upgrade to something that is close to it. For instance, maybe a Vector. Still keeps 9mm ammo, still keeps your barrel attachments and things like that, but it has a few more slots for other stuff, right? But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's get down to weapon combinations. All right, weapon combinations, or what I call, your loadout, would be based upon what you're good with, the map that you're in, and what their finishing range is. What I mean by finishing range is, for instance, if I have a M4 attached, right, or equipped, I know that my M4, at least the way that I play and what I found out through how I play and analyzing my game, that my M4 is good from probably about this little hill here anywhere towards me. If it was a little bit farther than that, maybe that cactus or that tree back there, it's possible, but it's iffy, right? Um, I know that my finishing range is from here to here. Now, the close range is a little bit odd. Sometimes it's tough to maneuver when you're close range, but for the most part, it has a good, effective finishing range. And also, what I mean by finishing is that, and you'll see this when I get to the snipers and longer range weapons, is that what's the what is the what's the chance that you're going to finish the target that you're shooting at? If I down a guy here, right, I still feel comfortable enough to lay down more shots to finish him. However, if I had an M4, right, and I downed a guy in this range here, I may get the down, but it's going to be very tough to finish him. It's going to take possibly my entire magazine or more to finish him because that is not my weapon's effective finishing range. That's what leads me to having a good mix, such as having a sniper rifle as well. So, and I'm going to equip this with a scope just so we can get the full picture here. All right. So with the M4, you know, I'm good from this hill pretty much to me. Anything within this range, dead meat, right? Anything past that, I'm more than likely going to hit with my Kar 98. Somewhere between here and about this rock here. And if you look from this distance, that is a pretty good effective range of finishing. You're covering a very wide margin. If something is beyond that, it's probably not worth shooting at, because even if you do knock them, you more than likely will not finish them. And knowing that and knowing your loadout and knowing your effective range also helps you make combat decisions, because if I have somebody, let's say over here, right, on this tree, and it may be tough for me to knock and or finish them even with this effective range, I might want to go ahead and get a better position. Run up to this rock, run up to that tree, just to get a better, just to put them within range, put them within effective finishing range. That's important. Another thing that you want to know is you want to know your map. Your map dictates the loot that is going to be available to you. So if you're playing, let's say, I'm not going to get specific with maps, but you will find that some weapons are harder to get than others, and some forms of ammo are harder to find than others on specific maps. That's all going to come with experience, but just pay attention to it, because that's going to help you say, hey, even though, you know, let's say even though the M4 is my favorite weapon, I know that the M4 hypothetically isn't readily available on Miramar. You'd want to find another loadout that you're still good with, but that you can find on Miramar better. Because if you spend, you might get lucky, you know, and get the weapon that you want right off the bat. Great, let's go ahead and use it. That's my loadout of choice. But 9 times out of 10, you're going to be around a situation where you won't find that gun. You're going to have something else, because you can't spend the whole time looking for that gun. You're going to be doing a lot of swapping. You're going to be doing a lot of searching, wasting time instead of being out in the field and, you know, getting the win. Killing, playing with your team, getting the win. If the team's got everything they want and they're moving and you're the only one sitting back still swapping weapons and whatnot, it's not a good look. It's not being a good teammate, because if something happens either to you or to them, neither of you are in a position to help each other the best way that you possibly can. So that's something that's important. Now, there are different types of weapon combinations, right? Some people like to have an AR and either an SR or DMR, because they know that their effective range is pretty wide, right? And they have multiple ways of getting the job done. Now, the AR and SR/DMR combination is awesome. I've already showed you the effective range of that. The only caveat to that is, do you choose SR or do you choose DMR? That depends on your playstyle as well. Personally, I would prefer bolt-action rifles, because they're one-hitter quitters usually. If you hit the right spot, if you're aiming at a guy and you're aiming at his head, and you hit the head, boom, 9 times out of 10 they're going down, unless they have, you know, level 3 helmet or something else is affecting that. With a DMR, you know, and by DMR I mean, let's just say this SLR here, right? With this DMR, it's multiple taps, pop, pop, right? Unless they're already low on health or their helmet is wrecked, a headshot more than likely isn't going to take them down. You should assume that every opponent has full health and full armor. Maybe not level 3 unless you see it, but full armor. Because, you know, you don't want to sit there and assume. If you guys are stalking someone, you know, your team is right here beside you, right? You see somebody, you've caught them off guard, they're right on that rock, and they're looking off this way, right? If you take that shot and it doesn't down them, you've given them a good chance to remaneuver, find out where you are, who you're with, and it just breaks down your entire element of surprise. You know, in that situation, the best thing to do is to have a teammate with you that says, hey, I have a DMR. I see this guy, I want to hit him. Can you hit him with me? Let's coordinate this shot. I have my gun on his head. You know, maybe they have their gun on his body or his head at the same time. Okay, time it. 1, 2, 3, shoot. Boom. 99% of the time at that point, you're going to get the down, right? Because you guys have coordinated that hit, and now he has zero time to react. He may still crawl beyond the rock, whatever the case is, but you got the job that you set out to accomplish done. All right? That's just a little caveat between that. Know that. Understand that your DMR, even though you can do multiple shots, it's great when people are running across the field here and you're attempting pop, bang, bang, you're attempting to hit them while they're running across the field. It's much better than an SR. Um, in that instance, because unless you get that one hit with that SR, more than likely they're not going down. You're doing a good job with the DMR at that point. Know what your effective finishing range is. Another combination is, you may have an SMG along with a long range rifle. So let's just say I'm going to swap to my M4 here, and I'm going to equip an SMG such as the UMP, very popular one, right? Now I know that my UMP does not have a good finishing range long. It's great right here, up close and personal, where ARs may lack, and it's good probably up into this hill right here. But going onto this hill over here is a little bit more difficult because it just doesn't reach like that, and even if it did, the damage of an SMG is a lot shorter than the damage, or I'm sorry, a lot less than the damage of an AR. Unless we're talking about crate guns. In this thing, we are not going to put crate guns into the scenario because those are uncommon scenarios. We're just going to go with what's what. So we know that SMG is going to take a lot to finish a guy unless they're up close right here. SMGs shoot very fast, very quick. So if you nail all your shots, they're going down. But if you're shooting from this range, chances are you're nailing maybe about 20% of your shots that you're actually firing, unless you're just a demon with it. Which goes back to just knowing who you are and knowing what you're good at and being real with yourself. So in this instance, that's when you may want to pull out that SR, that DMR to hit them. Even though you'd like it for a distance of out here, this is going to be better than hitting them with your SMG, without a doubt. Now, once again, there's it all comes to play style. Doesn't matter if you like it, run with it. If you're good with it, run with it. But be real with yourself. Understand that and analyze yourself and understand that, hey, in these situations, I may like this gun, but it's not getting me as many kills. Maybe I should switch it up. Maybe I should understand more about my gun or see if it's even going to be effective at this mode. If not, I should probably switch out to something else. Find another loadout to do. Some people go with the SMG AR combo, and personally, it doesn't work for me. But if it's what you are good at, then go ahead and do it. The problem with the SMG AR combo is that the AR is similar to the DMR in this aspect. It's not going to down very well at long distance. It's good at medium distance, up to this hill, great. Over here, gets a little choppy, right? You're letting off a lot of shots. Even if they're hitting, they've lost a lot of bullet drops, so their damage isn't as effective as it could be. And so effectively from long range, especially if you're going up against someone who has a DMR or a sniper, more than likely you're going to lose that match. I don't care if you have a 4x, 6x on it, whatever the case is, more than likely you're losing that combat. And that's just because that's understanding the gun, knowing that it's not effective at that point. It's just not. That's why I don't really recommend things like the mutant. A lot of people like to do mutant from long range. You might as well just have a DMR or an SR. They're readily available. You might as well just use that. Getting down to increasing the effectiveness of your gun, because it's not just about the gun bare bones, right? We look at the gun here, and it's not just about having, a particular scope on it or whatever. It's about all of these attachments here that makes the gun a little more effective. If we're messing with an SMG, right? We have barrel attachments available, we have grips available, we have magazines available, right? These things help increase the effectiveness of the gun. I'll cover, bullet spread a little bit later on, but you want to know your gun so that way when you're looting, right? And let's say you have your loadout gun, you already know, hey, I'm looking for a particular grip, I'm looking for a particular magazine, I'm looking for a particular sight and muzzle. You don't want to sit there and say, well, I'm just gonna, get whatever comes by. No, search out for what it is you need. Call out to your team. Let them know, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Can somebody get me this? Because I know that if I get this combination and fill these particular slots in my gun, trying to get to my thing here. I know that this is the most effective my weapon can be, and this is where I'm good at. This is where I shine at. So know what is equipable to your gun and be able to find it easily. either by with your team or, just looking on the ground and finding what it is you need.